All right, well, welcome everyone. My name is Jocelyn Guzman. I am one of the early college members at Northern Essex Community College. And it seems like we have a great group today, a mix of maybe new students and current students by the names that I see on my screen. So I'm so excited to have all of you here today. Just to let you all know, we are recording this webinar. So if you missed any information after today, you can receive this recording later on tonight. So just quickly, we're going to do some introductions, and then after introductions, I will share my screen and I will start the presentation for tonight. So I already introduced myself. I am Jocelyn Guzman, and I am the liaison in early college that works closely with Newburyport. Ms. Blackstock?
Yep, I'm Tricia Blackstock, and I am the Director of Guidance and Counseling at the high school. That probably most of you know that. And I am the sort of touch point with Northern Essex for the early college program. So I'm very excited to see that we have about 30 of you here, which is awesome. And we're going to talk a little bit about fall at Northern Essex, and Jocelyn's going to share her screen and give you guys some information. And at the end, we will answer questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, you can type those in the Q&A box. And like Ms. Blackstock mentioned, we will be able to answer your questions at the end of the presentation. So I will start sharing my screen. Let me make sure I'm in full screen. Perfect. Ms. Blackstock, can you see my screen?
I sure can.
Awesome. So welcome all of you from Newburyport. It's really exciting to be able to share this good news and this information that we have for all of you. Some of you are current students in the early college program, and some of you might be new to our program, and you might know information about early college, but we always have some new stuff going on. So we're really excited to be able to set this up for all of you tonight. So thank you for taking the time. Let me make sure I can move. So we have a few things on our agenda today. First, we're going to talk about what is early college. Then we're going to move on and talk a little bit about the courses and the program options that we offer through Northern Essex. Then we're going to talk about the benefits of early college and what that can look like for you that you're considering about taking college credits with us. And then we're going to move forward with next steps and then questions and answers. So what is early college? Like I mentioned, some of you might have heard this term before, early college. Others may have heard the term of dual enrollment, which are very similar terms and very similar key factors when it comes to students getting a head start in college. So I can go on and on with this slide, but I'm really going to give you the meat and kind of what exactly this means to be part of the early college program. So being part of early college, you get the opportunity to start college early, which is definitely a great investment for a lot of students that are considering to pursue any college education in the future. So you can save money and you can save time by getting a head start in college and taking these college credits with Northern Essex. You get an early introduction into college life, so you start to gain those skills that will make you a great member of any college community. If you are going to be a senior next year, you might be starting to think about colleges and where you would like to go after you graduate from Newburyport. So a lot of admissions officers and a lot of admissions counselors will ask, what will make you a great candidate to be on our college campus? So guess what? Being an early college student, you can gain a lot of these skills that a lot of these admissions offices are seeking for. You can start investing in your future and start exploring career options. Maybe currently you're not sure what you would like to study when you get to college, you don't have to wait to get to college to figure out what your interest is or what your passion may be in the future. You can start investing towards it right now within the early college program. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like within our program at Northern Essex. The best part of it all is really earning those transferable credits that you can take with you to any of the colleges that you might be seeking to pursue a career in. You can take all of these credits with you to any state university that is part of Massachusetts. You can take these credits with you to any private college that you might be considering. And every piece of transferring might look a little bit different. But if you have any questions about the transferring process, you can let us know in the Q&A, and we'll be glad to answer those questions for you. And lastly, within early college, you can leave Newburyport not just with your high school diploma, which is a huge accomplishment for all of you to be able to gain. You can also gain these college credits that will go with you no matter where you decide to go to a four-year institution. Or you can also complete your associate's degree as a high school student. Some students are definitely ambitious and will pursue that opportunity of completing an associate's degree. But if that's not you, that's okay. You can gain as many credits as you'd like, and then you can go on and take that with you no matter where you go. So let's talk a little bit about the course and program options. So within early college, we have two different areas of where students can go into to take classes. The number one area is our early college cohort model, which has been created, especially because we have such a high increase of students taking early college credits at Northern Essex. So the early college cohort is a Monday through Friday early college block time that goes from 12:30 p.m. to 1:45 p.m. This block time goes right into your schedule as an early college student, and you get the opportunity to take classes with other peers that are also high school students from the local high schools. So you get the opportunity to be with other high school students in your classes. The credits are college level credits. You are being taught by our faculty, our instructors from the college, and you get the opportunity to be part of this cohort program. Within this cohort program, we have specific areas of support that are embedded in our cohort program. So for example, this semester and the past semester, we have implemented weekly alerts that our instructors are providing us just to make sure that students are on track and they are definitely following and making progress in their classes within the semester. We know that online has not been the easiest thing for every single student. So we are definitely making sure that we create this safety net that will help students and assist students when it comes to supporting them. We also have monthly progress reports that are part of the early college cohort. So what this means is that the instructors are sending us monthly progress reports, and then those progress reports are shared with the high school to make sure that the high school knows and is super aware of what's going on with the students. And then also we as an early college office can also support students if they need any type of support. So within the high school and also the early college, we collaborate so that we can create this safety net for all the students that are part of the early college cohort program. So for us, we definitely take great pride in all of the different support areas that we have been able to build into the cohort program. And it's definitely our priority for students to be part and participate in this early college cohort program that we have created. We also offer Northern Essex traditional classes that are offered to all of our Northern Essex Community College. So you may have adult learners in there in those classes. You might have students that just graduated from high school and are now taking classes at Northern Essex. And so early college students that are still in high school can also take classes through the traditional classes at Northern Essex. It's a little bit different in the sense that all of the support areas that I just talked about that the cohort has created are not necessarily there for the Northern Essex traditional classes, but we have seen success in high school students taking traditional classes. Sometimes, for example, students that will have to take the traditional classes are students that maybe the 12:30 to 1:45 block doesn't necessarily fit in their schedule, in their high school schedule. So we might consider some night classes, so maybe a 5:30 p.m. class or something around 3 o'clock, or something just separate from the high school schedule itself. So traditional classes are definitely available, and we definitely support students that are interested in those traditional classes, but we will always be sharing our early college cohort program as an option as well for students. If you think you are a student that needs motivation, if you feel that you are a student that will benefit more from all of the progress reports and all the different communications that we receive from the faculty, we always recommend to go into the early college cohort model rather than the Northern Essex traditional classes model. When it comes to both models, the cohort, for example, we offer classes in the fall and in the spring semesters, and then we also offer a very few selection of courses during summer session 1. So that means that the juniors that are going to be seniors can take those summer session 1 classes through the cohort program. If you are a senior and you're going to be graduating this May, you can actually still take classes at Northern Essex within the same tuition rate that we offer to our early college students. So you can see here on our presentations that students can take Northern Essex courses for $110 per credit, and that could be on campus or online. And so typically every course is about 3 credits. So you're looking at $330 per course, unless you're taking a math class, which typically there are 4 credits, or if you're taking a science with a lab, which is also 4 credits. So this is kind of the breakdown and the different options that you can look at when it comes to the course and the program options. This is a brief example of what a pathway or a program option can look like for students that are within the cohort. So many of our students will pursue one of our 5 pathways that we offer. Here I have as an example the business pathway, but we also offer an education pathway, a criminal justice pathway, the business pathway, the STEM pathway, and then an exploratory pathway. So each one will focus a little bit depending on kind of like what your interest may be. It's sort of like picking a major or picking a concentration if you were going to college, but just on a smaller scale, because we want to make sure that the classes that you are taking are going to be transferable credits and also introductory credits into these pathways that we have built into the cohort. So here on your screen, you can see the business pathway as an example, and this is a recommended sequence to just maximize the amount of courses that students can take when being in the early college cohort. Some students will start the program early on in their sophomore year, but the majority of our students are definitely starting the program as juniors and sometimes seniors. So this model is built as if you were starting the program as a junior. So for example, as a junior, your year 1, you're looking at taking English Composition 1 during the fall, and then an Intro to Psychology class. Then for the spring, if you look to the right, we see English Composition 2, and then Introduction to Business would be that introductory class for that student that is in that business pathway. Then for the summer sessions, we typically can offer Intro to Sociology or a public speaking class, electives that will be relative to students transferring these credits. Then when you're looking at a year 2 as a senior, usually most of the time, students can start looking more into taking a math class or a lab science. And what that looks like is that students will take a math placement test so that we can see where and what level of math students can start with. So depending on where you can start, you can take a math class in the fall semester, and then you can either take microeconomics or computer applications as a business pathway. And then during the spring, passing the first math class in the fall, you can take the next level of math in the spring, and then also follow it with or pair it with one of the other two courses. So most of our students are taking about 2 classes per semester. There could be students that could take 3 classes per semester or 4 classes per semester. And that really just depends on what the goals are of a student enrolling in the early college program. Every student can be a little bit different. And when we are talking about all of these different pathways and talking about registering for these classes, that's where the conversation will rise up, and we'll talk about the different options that a student may have depending on their goals that they would like to accomplish within the early college program. Ms. Blackstock, I just wanted to open up the floor for you. Was there anything that you wanted to add on when it comes to the classes or the requirements that students can take within the early college program?
Yeah, so the way that it works on a student's transcript, or how the credits work, is that every Northern Essex class that is 1 semester in length is considered a full year at Newburyport High School. So early college, why it gets misconstrued with dual enrollment is because you are dually enrolled in high school and college at the same time. So that means you're going to get, if you take English Comp 1 as a junior, first semester at Northern Essex, that's your lit for the entire year. So you get 5 credits at Newburyport High School for that. And it's the same for every course. So it's a really good way if you wanted to get a head start, or finish high school a little bit early. I've had students finish in December of their senior year, or they've really finished their required courses for senior year with the English Comp 2. So they use that to take an AP class or something else at Newburyport High School that they hadn't been able to fit into their schedule. So it's really pretty flexible. It's a really good deal because you get the 5 credits, and all of the classes that they offer, as Jocelyn said, will count for something at Newburyport High School and will transfer as something to all colleges. I mean, it may be like, say, for example, you're a student who really, you don't have a 3.8, 3.9, 4.0 GPA that's going to get you into the Eisenberg School of Management at UMass Amherst, and that's what you want. If you complete the business pathway, the mass transfer pathway, and you earn a certain GPA at Northern Essex, you can automatically go into UMass as a junior into Eisenberg. So that is one of the pathways. There's so many of them, but you don't have to choose a pathway either. I mean, I've had students just say, I just want to take English and history my junior year because I don't want to have to do the JARP. Or I really am interested in microeconomics or whatever. So they take a class just to take a class, not really a full pathway. So there's a number of different ways that students can use these classes for their high school transcript and to take off to college with them if that's what they choose to do.
Great, thank you so much. And I'm glad that you brought that up, Ms. Blackstock, about the students that don't necessarily want to pick a pathway. You definitely don't need to. And it's just a great opportunity for you to just pursue 1 or 2 classes if you're definitely interested in doing that. So, all right, we will move along. So some benefits of early college, and you'll hear us kind of saying this over and over again, especially if you join the program, is that number 1, you're going to receive a jump start on your college career. Whether that means taking 1 class, 2 classes, or fulfilling some graduation requirements, or completing an associate's degree. For everyone, it can look very differently. And again, like, those conversations will definitely come up as we go on and talk about your registration process. Other great benefits is saving money, saving time, having the opportunity to just get this head start and being able to do or complete our college courses at a lower tuition rate versus what our Northern Essex students are typically paying as a college student. So this is definitely a great investment in that sense. You get to learn what those college expectations are early on. I know that this past year has been very different from what we typically do, but when our students are on campus, students can take advantage of the library, of the fitness center, of the tutoring center, the writing center, and all of these different support services that we offer within the college. So it's definitely a great opportunity for students to just know what that's like, find your interest, maybe even getting involved in clubs, things that can grab your interest that maybe later on you would like to pursue as a college student. You also get the option to complete a degree at Northern Essex if that was something that you already are considering and doing. And then you can access all of Northern Essex services, as I mentioned. Yes, Ms. Blackstock.
So can you just, what is a normal or traditional cost for a regular college student per course? About $1,000 or $1,200?
Right. So it's a little bit about, yeah, like around 900 something or so.
So they pay about a third in early college,
Exactly.
whereas a high school student.
Yes.
Yeah, just to the point about, getting a jump start on college, I've had students take, 3 or 4 classes while they've been in high school, and while it doesn't make them a sophomore, or a second semester freshman, what they've done is, use those classes as some gen eds that they have to fulfill, and instead of having to take 5 classes as a freshman, they only have to take 4, which for some students is really helpful in the grades that they earn. So, instead of having, the expectations of taking 5 classes, if you take 4 because you've already transferred 1 in, they tend to do better academically. Some kids because they have less classes. So that's another way that people have used the classes.
Great. Thank you. Right. So we're going to talk a little bit about next steps when it comes to, if you're interested in early college and what that can look like for the next few weeks for you. Within early college, we use the saying of apply, assess, advise. So those are the 1, 2, 3 steps that all students have to take when they are new students entering into their early college program. So number 1 would be students are asked to complete an early college application. So we have a few dates on here just to keep tabs and make sure that we are making progress when it comes to students completing all of these steps. So registration is right around the corner. Registration opens up on April 4th. So that's really the date that we work with when we start to create this process for all students. So applications for any student that is interested, so you kind of have a week to talk it over with mom or dad, with family, and see if this is an opportunity for you. And so students will then complete their application and submit that by Tuesday, March 22nd. So that way we can proceed on to the assessment piece. The assessment piece is a placement test where students it will happen was that it will tell us that students are college ready to take classes through the early college program. And so the assessment will be shared, and basically students can do that right on their computer. There's a reading, writing portion that students can take. And then there's also a math portion if students are interested in taking math classes. But in order to take any other type of classes, all you have to do is complete the reading, writing placement test. And so we have on here that would be due by Tuesday, March 29th. And then students will be notified of scores and their eligibility to be able to enter the program based on those scores that we receive. Right after that, we open up the week of registration, which is going to be opening up on Monday, April 5th through Friday, April 9th. So this is really our time where we get to meet, we get to talk about registration, what are those classes that you can take, and sort of go from there. One thing I want to point out here is that this upcoming fall, so these past 2 semesters for this academic year, Northern Essex has been fully remote and has been on an asynchronous model. So that means that students have been following their own pace when it comes to completing their classes, and there is no synchronous time where students have been meeting with the instructors, unless the instructors have instructed that that is something they would like to implement in their courses. This upcoming fall, we are playing around with 2 different models that we are thinking will definitely be finalized by April 4th so that we can share that with the public. The 2 models are, one, keeping some sections, a few of our sections, 100% online on an asynchronous format. Even though that doesn't work for everyone, it is an option that some students have found very beneficial this past year. So we definitely want to keep some courses on that 100% online asynchronous model. The second model that we are looking at is a hybrid model where 1 day per week, students will be going to campus to attend their class, and then the rest of the class would be on an online synchronous format. So we don't know exactly right now what that day is going to be of the week, but I've been encouraging students that if you are definitely interested in the early college program, to get the other 2 steps out of the way, we can start creating a tentative schedule for fall and then look at what that model might be that works best for you, and also making sure that if you decide on a hybrid model, that day does fit in your schedule as well. So those would be conversations that we will be having very, very shortly. And so we're just waiting for the college to make the decision to see which sections are going to be in what format. And then from there, one of the other things is that all students receive a NECC portal account and receive login information, where also students and families can find the bills of depending on the courses that students are taking. We provide you information on how to access those bills and make sure that all students and families can see that and view that information. We also create an event which we call New Student Orientation, and it's typically right around the time that fall semester is going to begin. And so students can take advantage of that time to coordinate with us and just hear information that will be very important as you go on into your fall semester as a new student at Northern Essex. So we have valuable information that we share through the New Student Orientation.
I think
and then of course,
it's crucial to attend that orientation. I really think so, because it talks about the platform that's used and, you know, how to navigate certain things. And it's just a much better, it's a good way to get to know what you need to do. So I highly recommend it. It should be mandatory.
Yes, I totally agree. We will share all the information with everyone. Typically, we have 1 or 2 orientations in case families can't make it, or if a student can't make it, but definitely we encourage you strongly to attend these orientations so that you can get all the information you need. Ms. Blackstock, do you have anything to incorporate to any of this information?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, it's the conversation once you decide, well, we know which model that you're interested in. If you're interested in the hybrid model, you know, we're going to the schedule that we were supposed to start this year, which is the 3-day rotating schedule. So on the 3 days, there's F and G are both at the end of the day, which are generally lunchtime on. So if you were going to do hybrid and you had F or G available, you could probably do it. But it's just going to be a matter of how many, you know, Newburyport High School classes you want to take. Everybody has their own idea. Some students want to take more classes at NHS in addition to NECO. Some were like, no, I'm taking my NECO, they're going to count. I want, the blocks off. Because you can have so if you take a Northern Essex class, you get to have a free block in your schedule, and you go to the library to work on at the high school. That's part of your schedule. So you go to the library it would be a Northern Essex enrichment block, and you can do your coursework for Northern Essex at that time. So you do get a block off if you're taking Northern Essex classes. So those blocks could be F and G if you're taking 2 classes. So you would definitely be able to do hybrid. It just, as you all know, the scheduling process, we won't really know till probably June where everything falls in the schedule. So if you're interested in taking a class, say that only meets 1 block out of the 7, and it happens to fall in a G block, hybrid might not work for you. So, that stuff we can talk about. But I would say if you're interested in this, definitely go through the process of registering and taking the assessments, and then we can start to look at, the schedule and how that might work for you. If you want to do asynchronous, then you should be fine, no matter where your classes land.
Right. Okay. And now we're going to open up the floor for questions. I actually have some frequently asked questions on here as well, but we will answer the questions that we have in the Q&A first, and then we can move on if we don't have any more questions before 7:30. So I'm going to stop sharing really quickly.
Oh, yeah, so we have some in the chat. So one is our electives and art and theater classes at NHS typically in the afternoon, or will students be able to take part in the EC cohort option as well as arts at NHS? Depending on the class, but usually the arts are mixed up in all the blocks except for the performing arts are often toward the end of the day. So E, F, and G, generally it depends because those teachers work in the evening. So yeah, I mean, you could potentially, depends on the art you want to take and where it falls in the schedule. Can students going into 11th grade, Jocelyn, take classes this summer?
Absolutely. So students can definitely take classes over the summer. We will just make sure that the registration process is similar to the fall. So registration will open up April 4th for both summer and fall. And then we will look at those options together just to make sure that you have your summer schedule before you're done. And the unique thing about our summer sessions is that we actually have 3 different summer sessions that we offer. One of them will start May 17th and will end June 25th. So some of you, I think for the most part, probably will still be finishing your high school year. So that could be helpful to kind of just keep your momentum going as you finish your high school year. And then we also have additional summer sessions that will run from June 26th to August 6th. So that would be a little bit differently because you'll be able to take the summer classes during that time frame. They are a little bit shorter, so they are a 6-week semester versus a 15-week semester, the way that the fall and the spring is formatted and scheduled. So just keep that in mind because that means that the semester will just be a little bit more of a fast pace when you go through your class.
How often do the classes meet in a week, and how long are the courses? And Luciana wants to answer. Or not?
I can answer it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Answer it, I don't know.
Yeah. So how often do the classes meet in a week? So that's a great question. So pre-COVID, students were meeting, they would have, so Monday through Friday from 12:30 to 1:45 within the cohort, you would have specific times that you would be meeting with your classes. For example, if you had English Composition 1, that could be scheduled on Mondays and Wednesdays, so twice per week in person, students were meeting with their instructors. And then the rest, maybe you had another class that was on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that's kind of what the breakdown used to be like before we had to go remote. Now that we've been online remote for an entire year, students have been doing the asynchronous format. So it's a little bit more of a self-paced class because you're not meeting at a specific time or at a specific day with your instructor. Some instructors, though, have been very willingly attend, kind of creating these Zoom sessions so that students can attend during a certain time. But it has always been revolving around that 12:30 to 1:45 block, because that is the typical early college cohort time that we had already scheduled in the previous times where we were in person. Moving forward, it really just depends on which model the class is going to be offered in. So that could be asynchronous, so it could just be self-paced at your own time doing the work, or it could be the hybrid model, so that once per week in person. We just have to figure out what day that could be, and the rest online. So right now we're looking at those two different options, but it kind of has changed over time because of the pandemic.
They're usually like any other college course. It's 3 hours a week, or with that 15 minutes, they always let you out early. So it's the equivalent of 3 hours per week for 15 or 16 weeks. Let's see, what's the deadline if student wants to take spring of 22 classes?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So typically, I'll give you kind of a rundown as to what it looks like. I don't know the exact dates yet, but November 1st, around that time, is when registration opens up for spring semesters. So we try to work around that November 1st time. So typically, we're finishing up the process right around the time before Thanksgiving break. So we just want to make sure that students are all set, ready to go. And they have their classes around that time. If we do our job correctly, we try to get it done before Thanksgiving break, but sometimes we roll over, but we just make sure that you have everything done before your winter break at the high school. So, but we'll definitely share information once we get closer to that time.
So Jocelyn, if a student is interested in spring of 22, can they do their placement test now if they wanted to?
Yes, so it depends a little bit. So you can definitely take your placement test now if you wanted to. But one thing I do suggest is, so students that are seniors or rising or juniors right now, so students that are juniors right now going into their senior year, you can waive the assessment with a 2.7 GPA or higher. And so if you don't have that GPA and then you take the placement test and both of them say you are not college ready, you potentially still have the chance to take that placement test again or boost your GPA to a 2.7 or higher to then get you into the early college program. So you can definitely get those things out of the way and get those steps done, but it's not really a big rush because things can change from here to November.
Right. The next question is, when a student takes a class at Northern Essex in place of a class at NHS, will that completely wipe out the class at NHS, or will there be two of the same classes going on at the same time? No, it completely replaces the Newburyport High School course. So if you're going to take English Comp 1 first semester, then you don't have to take your year-long literature course at Newburyport High School. And then if we take summer classes, will they count as high school credit? Or in what classes can you take this summer in lieu of a full year class next year? I think that depends. You can take lit, history. People take civics and government, or American government is called at Northern Essex, in lieu of their civics. So what I find sometimes is that if students who try to take like pre-calc to get into AP Calc often isn't, it doesn't work as well, because the material that's covered in our like honors pre-calc class is more in depth than what they do in pre-calculus at Northern Essex. So they're not 100% ready for AP Calc. But if you're not looking to do pre-calc, then any course will really count on your schedule. And then Jocelyn, what additional supports are you implementing for the cohort students who are 100% asynchronous? Office hours, one-on-one check-ins?
Great question. Yes, so we have office hours that run throughout the semester. This specific semester, we have office hours on Wednesdays and Fridays. So as the support person or the contact for any early college student from Newburyport, they can always reach out to me. During the orientation time, I make sure to share out all the information on how to communicate with me and how to get any of those office hours information as well. And those office hours are open not just to the asynchronous group, but also to anybody in the future that is thinking about the hybrid model for fall. So really just anyone that has any questions. If you also are having trouble in accessing maybe tutoring or the writing center or anything like that, I can support you and help you on creating those kind of appointments that you might need. Sometimes students need help just writing an email to an instructor and explaining a certain situation. I'm your person for that as well. So really all the pieces that students are slowly gaining as being part of the early college program, I have a sort of a support way or support method of helping out with that.
Yes, I already answered the question about the summer classes. They will count. Where is the course schedule? Do you mean the Northern Essex course schedule or Newburyport High School course schedule? And that is to the anonymous attendee. So if you want to write, tell me which schedule you're looking for. And then, so how do early college classes affect a student's GPA? So currently, this year, we are giving students AP credit for college level classes. In the past, we've done honors credit. And last year, Superintendent Gallagher offered a class through Endicott, and he created the flyer and said that they were worth AP credit because he didn't ask me how we credit college level classes. So we changed this year. So we're doing them as AP. I do know that that's something that's going to be discussed at maybe school council, but as of right now, they're AP. I'm sticking with that until I hear otherwise. And then if a student has above a 2.7 GPA in early college next year as a senior, they do not have to take the placement test. If they're going to be a senior next year and they have above a 2.7, no placement tests needed.
I'm just going to answer a little bit about that question. If you are a student that is going into your senior year and you are really focusing on taking math classes, math level courses through Northern Essex, I do suggest in taking the placement test for the math section only, because if you only waive it with the 2.7 GPA, you're going to start at stats as the lowest level of math or the entry level of math. If you place at a higher level of math by taking the placement test, you can start at that higher level of math. So just think about that. And again, these situations are really like case by case, depending on what you're really interested in. But when you share with us, this is what I'm looking to do through the early college program, we can definitely talk more in detail about those conversations.
So the course schedule one is, where is the course schedule for Northern Essex? And I think that, you know, Ms. Guzman said earlier that they're working on, you know, sort of figuring out how the courses are going to work, but the types of classes that they offer range from, in early college specifically, not broadly at Northern Essex, you know, intro to business psychology, English Comp 1, English Comp 2, US history, those kind of things.
Yep.
If we're taking an early college class now, the class will go on our GPA at the end of the year, correct? So what happens is, just so you all know, is that it all has to do with how we report to the state. So when you register for early college or dual enrollment classes as a high school student, we have to code you a certain way for the state so that they know it's part of the reporting that we have to do. So what happens is we put you in the class on your, it goes into the sort of the after school block. And I am the teacher of record. So when I get the grades from Northern Essex, I enter them in to your transcript. That's how grades get put in.
And we answered last question.
Anyone else? So let me just say this, for those of you who would like a registration packet, if you will, for those who need to take the placement test and need to want to fill out the registration, just email me and I will send it to you so that you can fill it out and get it back to me, because I have to sign it. I have to answer some questions about, your GPA and all of that. So that would be great. So if you do, just shoot me an email and I'll send it off to you. And then what happened, Ms. Guzman will contact you to have that discussion with you about what are the classes you think you want to take. Once you know what you think you're going to take next year or that you've registered for, then if you have any questions about how that might affect your Newburyport High School schedule, come back to me and I'll sit with you and we'll look at it. Don't go to your guidance counselor for this particular thing, because I just have more knowledge about how it works and how the schedule works, and I'm there all summer so I can tweak things. So I would be the person that you want to come back to on that.
And one thing I also wanted to mention was, as you fill out the early college admission application, there's going to be a section on the application that's called the FERPA, and that is the Federal Education Privacy Rights Act. So if you needed any information as the parent or guardian of your student, it's important for that information in that section to be filled out of the application, because unfortunately, if we don't receive that information and enter that data into our database, we wouldn't be able to share any information with you when it comes to any academic records, or in particular, any student bills or anything like that, if you call and ask for that information.
You have to waive the right. The students have to waive their right. Yeah. I can help. That part I can help with if you don't know how to answer it.
Great.
So I have no idea if anybody's even still in the meeting. We're talking and I don't. Oh yeah, we still have people.
Yeah.
I had the chat up so I couldn't see if anybody was still in the meeting. So yes. That's it for now, I guess. So if you think of any other questions, feel free to email me, and if I can't answer them, I will forward them to Jocelyn. And I look forward to working with you.
Thank you all so much for joining. I think there's one more question. Oh. If I take a class this summer and don't feel like I did well, does it have to count on my transcript?
This is actually thank you, David. This is actually a really interesting question, because so your high school transcript, not necessarily if you don't want it to, like I don't have to put it on as transfer credit onto your transcript. However, what you need to know is once you start taking college classes, they are part of your permanent record for colleges. And if you fail classes, it can have a very detrimental effect on you potentially getting financial aid later on. So, am I right about that, Jocelyn? Yeah. So yes. I would say, if you want to just take a class just to take a class and not have it count towards high school, you can do that too. That's fine with me if you don't want to then tell me, but just know that it's going to be part of if you're ever asked for transcripts and you have to get them from Northern Essex, that's going to go with the grade on it. And so the other thing that's important is when you do transfer classes from, say, Northern Essex to a 4-year college, you mostly, as a rule, have to have a C or better for it to transfer. That's another point of interest. So I will say our students do very well. And, you know, are pretty well prepared. So I would say if it's something you're interested in and you want to just take it over the summer to see how it goes for you, just know that the summer classes are shorter, and so there's more work in a smaller amount of time. So while it's summertime and you should have the time, it is a little more intense in terms of the amount of work you have to get done in a shorter amount of time. Same with the winter session. So there is a winter session, because I know one or two of my students did a winter session courses, which is shorter also. So. Okay, that it?
That is all.
All right. Adios.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for coming.
Have a good rest of your night.